What the hell are you doing in here?
Hey, how's it going everyone? ChrisIsGreat25 here, and today we're going to take an in-depth look at the HBO's The Last of Us trailer. And we're going to talk about the similarities between this TV series and from the game. Also, its unique qualities that separates, the entire show from the game. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Let me just go ahead and pull up my notes here. So, I immediately want to say, I'm sorry if my memory is a bit off. It's been some time since I last played the game. So if some things are a bit off, please excuse me. Alright, so right off the bat, we see Joel, who is walking down Boston in the QZ area, which is also known as the quarantine zone. One difference I've already noticed, the way the area surrounding Joel looks like. In the game, we do see people as well. We do see people outside, but we don't see as many of them crowded in the area like the show is showing us. We see less people are out on the streets. We see people who are starving actually, because not enough rations are coming through. And here, the people look more like lively. They look more alive. They look more contempt. It's a drastic difference between the two already. Then here we see the curfew hours. Anyone on the streets without Fedra approval, Fedra being basically the military who owns the the quarantine zones, and basically handles like the people who live in this area. And we also see the signs of the cordyceps infection: coughing, slurred speech, muscle spasms, mood change. But we also see how like the sign is also worn down, showcasing that it's been there for a very, very long time.
The roses have faded, there's frost.
Alright, so right here is our first sign of the fireflies. None of the characters from the game, but a sign, their symbol that we've seen throughout the game. And we also see a couple people painting over this sign, and we also see them painting over a phrase at the bottom. Now, to those who don't know, in the game, basically there's this phrase whenever there's this firefly symbol, and it just mostly says, "Look for the light." So basically throughout the game, when you see these symbols, sometimes there's a little phrase underneath it, and their phrase is "Look for the light."
At my door, the birds in the morning don't sing in it.
Alright, so this shot was already interesting off the bat. We get this shot of Joel, who looks actually rather concerned, and we see the sign of his watch, which was gifted him by Sarah many, many years ago on Outbreak Day. To me, this scene kind of reminds me of early on in the game when Joel just woken up, and as we know that Joel sometimes has nightmares of Outbreak Day and the day that Sarah died. So here we get a shot of Ellie actually looking at a wall, and that says, "When you're lost in the darkness," another phrase from the Fireflies. So, when you're lost in the darkness, look for the light.
The valley.
So then we get this shot of Ellie actually being chained up from her leg. And this kind of begs the question as to why she was being chained up, and also who chained her up. I was thinking that it was Marlene who chained her up and keeping her put to make sure she doesn't leave or try to escape or anything like that. Okay, then we see the entrance of the QZ area, the quarantine zone, like entrance / exit. We can see the truck coming out in this direction, but we also see the welcoming sign.
The whippoorwill.
Here we see Joel, Ellie, and Tess hiding from the military, from Fedra, as they're trying to escort Ellie outside the city. Alright, so here we actually get a shot of the outskirts of the city of Boston. We see the two buildings that have collapsed among one another. We see the buildings across have been destroyed, and they have like grass, ivies, like all that stuff growing on the side of these buildings. We see all the trucks and cars just like in piles all over the city. And we also see at the bottom here, Joel, Ellie, and Tess actually running through the city.
Sky has turned gray, a hound in the...
So then this is the first shot we get of Nick Offerman's Bill. We can clearly see that he's looking through the security cameras he set up, and as we know from the game, that Bill sets up a lot of traps around his town to ensure that the Fedra, random people, hunters, any cordyceps basically just don't get through in a city at all. Now this isn't something in the game. It would make sense since Bill is a very paranoid type of character. It would make sense why he would have so many cameras and be monitoring them 24/7 basically. So then we get this shot of Joel and Ellie looking at a pit of just dead bodies that possibly Fedra basically killed. Anyone who was infected, they probably took them outside the city and shot them here, and they just left their bodies there to decay. Then we get this shot of Tess, Ellie, and Joel hiding away from the clickers, and we can just hear the clickers and their, like, you know, their typical sound that they always make, you know, their it just sounds great. It just sounds crazy. This is something I want to talk about. I already love how Pedro Pascal is portraying Joel, because here we see more emotions to Joel. I'll explain more about that in a little bit. I just love how he looks concerned, worried. He looks uneasy about the situation he is in, and I love that. I also love the fact that Ellie also looks very scared about the situation she and Joel and Tess are in. It just adds to the tension to the situation they're in. So we then get this shot of Joel and Ellie crossing a bridge. From this point, I kind of want to make a guess as to what point in the story this is. I want to guess this is kind of like right as they enter Wyoming. In chapter 7 of the game, Tommy's Dam, we know that it was raining and it was a bit cold, kind of like how this area is showing when Joel met up with Tommy. But I also want to say this is a bit later on when the two are in Colorado, in chapter 9 of the game, Lakeside Resort. But obviously in that point of the game, Joel got stabbed in his abdomen, and Ellie took him to Lakeside Resort to basically get him somewhere safe so she could heal him. It's kind of hard to tell because at this point you see like just Joel looks fine. He doesn't look like he's injured at all, so who knows at what point in the story this is, but it's just a guess. Okay, so then we get a shot of Joel looking around at this tunnel with a bunch of cars that are worn down and a truck that's blocking the way. Who knows if this is in Boston or later on when the two go to Pittsburgh. Here we have a shot of Ellie crying at someone or something. I think if I remember correctly, the show is also going to incorporate the Left Behind DLC. And maybe this is going to be kind of like right at the beginning or sometime right in the middle, when Ellie maybe is talking to Joel about her past or something like that. Because we also know that her best friend Riley, we know that she's also going to be incorporated to the story as well. So who knows how maybe this is Ellie reacting to her turning, but I don't really know. Okay, so then we get this shot of Marlene actually, and we see she has a wound in her abdomen, in her gut somewhere. We also have someone else standing right next to her. I do not know who she is. I probably assume she's just another participant of the Fireflies. By the looks of this, it's another thing that's hard to tell. I'm not sure if this is in the beginning of the game, because in the beginning of the game, when you meet Marlene, she actually has a gut wound, and she's basically taking Joel and Tess to Ellie, then telling her about, hey, can you take this kid across the country, blah blah blah. Or if this is later on, near the end, where two basically ended up in Utah, and basically they're at the hospital, and basically Joel is trying to escape with Ellie, and maybe he shoots Marlene in order to escape. You know, this is another assumption that I have. So then we finally get a shot of Riley, which is Ellie's best friend from what I mentioned before, The Last of Us DLC, Left Behind. I remember that Riley was taking Ellie to a old rundown shopping mall that she found, and the two were just basically hanging out and doing their thing there. They were just having a fun time before the two got infected. Okay, so wow, this looks beautiful. So here we have a shot of Joel carrying Sarah on outbreak day, and we see Joel turning around, and see here he turns around and he sees a bunch of people who are being bitten, who are dead basically, and we see people just turning into runners, which are basically the first stage of the cordyceps infection. All right, so then we have this shot of Joel sniping from the looks like a roof of the house, which is later on when Joel and Ellie run into Henry and Sam. So as we can see in this shot, we see Joel sniping, and from the game basically Joel winds up on the rooftop of one of the houses with a sniper. The group, which was Ellie, Sam, and Henry, they were trying to run away, and basically Joel was just trying to protect them, sniping away any runners, clickers, so on and so forth.
This is your chance.
So we get this shot of Tess trying to hide away from a gunfight. So we see here Fedra military soldiers are here and fighting in the front lines, and I want to take a guess that they're probably fighting the Fireflies, because that is something that was common and that was happening in the first few chapters of the game. So the rest of the trailer goes by pretty quickly, so I'm gonna try my best to understand and explain to you what's going on, or at least my understanding as to what is happening. Okay, so then we see the shot of Sarah and Joel looking at Tommy, which this looks to be Tommy's actor. And at first glance, this actually looked like John Berthenol, the guy who played the Punisher and a lot of other roles. At first it looked like him, but I looked at the casting list, and John Berthenol was not on the cast at all. Then I looked at Tommy's actor, who was Gabriel Luna, and I was like, oh, you know what? That could be him with just longer hair, you know, to fit the character of Tommy. But like for a hot second, he just looked like John Berthenol. He just looked like him. And this scene looks like after they got into the car crash. From the beginning of the game, their 4x4 truck basically rolled over, fell over, and basically they're just trying to get out the city.
That shot.
We then get the shot of Bill looking down a hole, one probably he created, and probably looking down at some random stranger. I don't want to say it's Joel because it looks like a completely different person, but it could be. Okay, so this shot is actually really interesting. So then we get this shot of two people holding hands, and this is probably, you know, way before Outbreak Day, you know, way before current times, obviously. And I want to say that this is Bill and his partner, because from the game, it doesn't go really too in depth with it, but Bill actually had a partner who stuck by him for like many years, and he later on in the game did wind up kicking the bucket. It looks like, and I want to hope that the series is going to get more in depth into like Bill's character, and that's just my hope. This is my hope that this happens.
You keep her alive.
I gotta slow things down because it's going too damn fast. Oh, that looks crazy. So then we get this shot of just Joel beating the absolute fuck. Hang on, let me show you. We can see him, he's beating the absolute fuck out of a guard, and whilst Ellie's right there in the background watching. So we get this shot of Ellie crawling. I don't know whom she's running from. I think probably a clicker. Then we get a shot with what I think are the Fireflies. Then we get a quick shot of this really big truck that has this like a little shovel for the snow in the front, and it just says run. We get the shot of basically Tommy and Joel and their 4x4 basically they're trying to leave the city, but they're having a hard time, and we see a bunch of people who are crowded, so they have to reverse. So they reverse backwards. And then the next shot is them going forward, and we see Sarah looking back at all the people who are trying to run away, who are being attacked by runners, all of that. It looks crazy. We then get the shot of Joel running behind a wall, trying to hide behind a soldier, and I see the soldiers actually aiming his gun towards the wall, towards people. Then we get the shot of this guy burning alive, trying to, run out from his car. He's gonna die. And it looks insane. Okay, so then we get the shot of Joel, Ellie, and Tommy, what looks to be in Wyoming, basically at Jacksonville. And this is basically at the point where Tommy is going to show Joel and Ellie where to go to head to Colorado, where they head to the university. Okay, so then we get the shot of Henry and Sam and Ellie, and they're trying to run away from probably the Fireflies, or maybe someone else, maybe just a group of hunters. And we see actually the same truck, and it's not legible, but I saw it. I could have sworn I saw it. Maybe if I slow it down, you'll be able to see it. It's really hard to tell, but I could have sworn I saw this last time. I saw a R. It's really hard to decipher, but I think this is the exact same truck that said run on it earlier. So just trying to, mow down like the group essentially. But this is Tess being tied up, and we see a bomb going off on the wall, and we see just two, I don't know who these guys are. I don't know if they're hunters or fireflies, but we see the wall getting blown up, and it's probably Joel trying to rescue her. We then get the shot of Joel running away while carrying Sarah, and you can see that she looks very scared, and she has some blood on her. Then we get the shot of Tess looking at people who are running away, from what I do not know. Then we get the shot of someone dropping a lighter. It's either Joel or Tess. Then we get the shot of Joel and Ellie crashing their truck into a small local mart basically. And this is the point where they were being hunted by hunters. Okay, so now we get the craziest point of the trailer. We see this point of Ellie, who's covered in blood, who's panicking all over, and we see Joel, basically trying his best to comfort her. And this is the point where Ellie killed David. Now, for those who don't know, David is one of the enemies, one of the bad guys you come across throughout the game. He and a small group are basically hunters, but they're also cannibals. Basically, as Joel was healing from his wounds, Ellie was trying her best to protect Joel, save him, try and find food and all that. She gets caught up and she gets put into a cell, which David and his henchmen basically put her in. And at that point in the game, basically, Ellie was just trying to survive, and David was basically hunting her down, and she was just trying to protect herself. And it just looks crazy. This shot just looks crazy. And then we see Joel, who equally looks scared and surprised and just in shock about what he sees in front of him. We can tell he looks really worried and concerned for Ellie. He does not know what she just went through, and he's probably just as scared and just as mortified as she is. And on top of that, it probably reminds, looking at her, it probably reminds him of when Sarah died. Seeing the blood all over it, it probably spooked him. It probably terrified him. This is something I want to talk about, is this shot right here. This is one of those shots when I first looked at it that I was actually a little bit upset, which then I realized immediately after how stupid that was to think of that. Because in the original game, more specifically I'm talking about the PS4 remastered, which is the one I and probably mostly everyone else played, we see Joel as this very composed and calm character who doesn't really have that many emotions due to the years of pain and suffering he already went through, the years of loss he has gone through, that it just sort of doesn't have an effect on him. Versus here in the series, we see Joel express a lot of emotions, as showing a lot more emotion than just his anger. We see fear, concern, worried, upset. We see more out of him than we ever have in the game. And I think that's something that people would probably see and be a little bit pissed off about, but we really shouldn't, because this Joel we're gonna get a lot more from. We're gonna get a lot more emotion for. We're probably gonna get a lot more empathy for. which is a very good thing. And it's also going to make the ending of this series just way more painful than the first game was, like than the game probably ever was. And I'm excited for that. I'm ready for the show just to pull my heartstrings. Then we get our shot of a clicker. We see a clicker with the cordyceps infection, how much is affected. It just looks crazy. This just looks crazy.
Save who you can save.
Then we just get the shot of Joel and Ellie probably right at the beginning of their adventure as they're both in Boston about to prepare to go across the country. And then we basically get the shot of the two of them riding on a horse off on the sunset. And that is how we end the trailer, with all of that, which is just absolutely amazing. There was just so much cool shit that it's extremely exciting to see. It's really awesome to see, you know, the Last of Us series finally it's made. Here's a trailer. We see all the juicy bits and everything. It just looks just so much like eye candy. I don't know. It's just amazing. One thing I want to take a look back on is that throughout the trailer, Tess was actually saying a couple words, which I basically extracted and have written down here. What she said was this: "This is your chance, our best shot. You keep her alive, and you set everything right." And she says that as she's crying. Save who you can save. And from this set of dialogue, I want to think this is after when Joel found out that Tess got infected, and this is as Tess is about to stay behind to give her last stand to protect Joel and Ellie so they can move on and they could get away from the Fedra agents, basically, or Fedra military, as the two try to basically escape the military. But other than that, yeah, that was the entire trailer. There is so much great things, so much eye candy, so many beautiful shots. It's just exciting. It makes me excited to see this show that's going to come out, basically. Honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I absolutely love this. I love the people who they casted. I love where the story is taking it. It's basically following the original story while adding a bunch of more details to bits of the story we just didn't see or have before. And yeah, I'm really excited to see how this show is gonna turn out. But anyways, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. I really did enjoy making that intro though. That probably took me a long time, but honestly worth it. I also want to take this time to say that sometime around the 26th of October till the 15th of November, I'm actually gonna go on vacation, so there won't be any videos uploaded during that time, but I already have an idea as to what video I might post in November, so be prepared for that. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. I'll see you later, alligators. Bye.